everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Gossip Girls podcast. I'm Madison.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Isabella.
Today we are joined by Joe Ruback, also known as License Plate Guy. Joe is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Giants fans. Not only is he a super fan, but he has used his platform for countless events to raise money for a variety of charities. Joe, thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, Gossip Girls. I love it. Let's go. What do we got in store today?
We have a bunch of questions for you, so let's just get started.
All right, let's do it.
So, how did your Giants fandom start?
Well, probably, is everybody a Giant fan here or just men?
Yeah.
So everybody's a Giant fan. That's what I thought. So here's the deal. And you guys will attest to this. You guys know. How did you become fans? You became fans because either your dad or your mom or your grandmother, your grandfather, somebody in your family pushed you to be a Giants fan. So, Giant fans are different. They're bred into the family. And, if you're not a Giant fan, you put up for adoption. That's it.
Definitely, and I couldn't agree more. Growing up, who is your favorite Giants player?
It's funny because when I was really young, the Giants were going through what they're going through now. So it was some tough times. But then the Giants started getting good in the 80s, and they drafted this guy named Lawrence Taylor, and he literally, I wish you guys were alive to see it because there was no your grandfathers or whatever, but when I tell you there was nothing like it, take the best player in football right now and then double him. And that really was Lawrence Taylor. I mean, he was that good of a player. So, no one compared to him. And the coolest part about that is if you went to Giant Stadium, there wasn't 5,000 Barkley jerseys. There were 50,000 Lawrence Taylor jerseys. Yeah. So it was a sea of 56s. So definitely Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
And did you play football or any sport when you were a kid?
I did. I played everything you could possibly imagine because, we didn't have this glorious internet like it's set up right now. I wasn't playing video games. That's not true. I did play on my Atari. I'm not going to lie. But, we didn't have all these games to play. So when we were kids, we were told, get your butts outside. And when the street lights came on, get your asses inside because we got dinner. So I played everything known to man. My two favorite sports were baseball and football, and I played them all the way through college.
Awesome. What inspired you to create the softball game for the J Fund?
Well, that's a good question, Matt. So, it wasn't – I always wanted to do something for charity, but I really, how does one do that? They need a platform. So when you get a platform like, License Plate Guy has built, talking in the third person here, it gives you that chance to go out and get these sponsors and get these people and then get the athletes to come and play. But if you really want to know the truth, you have to have the relationships with the players.
Yeah. And
over the years, I developed that, this trust between player and fan and player, and then friend. And then I was at the Pro Bowl in Orlando, and Landon Collins was there. And we were hanging out at the hotel, and I said, listen, I want to do this charity event. He's like, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, do you want to hear what it is? And he was like, no, let's do it. And he was like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, I don't even know yet. I just know I want to do something. And then I went back and forth, and I'm a big softball guy. So I said, let's do a softball game. He's like, okay. And then one thing led to another, and he got the current guys, and I got, all the guys from Super Bowl 42 and 46. And then the next thing you know, we had this incredible event that had the first year was, 70-something Giants came. And then the year after that, 90-something. Year after that, over 100. So it's mind-boggling when you really sit and think about, 100 New York Giant players in our backyard, basically. And that's how that softball game came about. And that first year raised think 35,000. Next year was around the same, and next year was around 40. I mean, in 3 years, over 100 grand. So it was pretty good.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you talk a lot about the friendships and the relationships. Who was the first player you established a good relationship, or who do you feel you were the closest with?
You know, I'll tell you guys something which I don't really tell a lot of people. Not that it's some secret, but I was just a teenager, and I was babysitting for Otis Birdsong. Not that you know who that is, but Otis Birdsong was a New Jersey Net. He was a basketball player. And I remember my dad used to, drive me over there to babysit. I wasn't 16 yet. And Otis came home one day and he's like, hey, guess who's moving next door? And I'm like, who? And he's like, Joe Morris. I'm like, no way, Joe Morris. Joe Morris, really? So even though I was just like 15, 16, Joe Morris was, I can't really consider him a friend because I was just a teenager, I'm sure his friends at the time would have been like, hey, well, you with this 16-year-old boy, it couldn't really be a friend. So, but let's just put it this way. Joe Morris and I are still as close as you can be to this day. But as an adult fan, Brandon Jacobs probably was my first real friend.
And which Giants Super Bowl was your favorite?
So I've been to 5, Isabella, and I only talk about 4. I was youngin' for the first 1 and 2, and 21 and 25, and then 42 came in 46. So I'm going to tell you something funny. So nothing compares to Super Bowl 42, and the reason being, you're playing the Patriots. They're undefeated. They're talking a whole bunch of smack. They're the greatest team to ever live. Brady's like, oh, we're only going to score 17 points. Oh, okay. All that good stuff. And then the Giants, miraculously, the helmet catch and the escape from Eli First, which, by the way, is the greatest play in all of football in the history of the game. And you're going to, if you ever repeat that, people are going to argue with you, and they're going to mention some other catch, and you're going to be like, okay, yeah, you're right. I didn't say catch.
Yeah.
I said play. It's the greatest play. Eli had to escape that sack and then throw, and then that catch. So I'm talking about soup to nuts. So that probably is my favorite, although Super Bowl 46, after the game, I was able to get on the field and be showered with the confetti and make a snow angel. So, I'm like, ooh, 42 or 46. Selfishly, 46. But what I really like, Super Bowl 42.
Yeah. Both.
Really cool.
Wow, that's so cool. You got to go on the field. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'll tell you another funny story. It's Super Bowl 42, and I was sitting in the family section, and the game ends, and I am literally next to Zach Diassi's family, and Zach is on the field, and he's like, everything is just hysterical, and Zach sends some security to go get his family, and the usher and the security's like, you guys, let's go on the field now. And like his sister goes, and his other sister goes, and his dad goes, and everybody's going, and the usher looks at me and he goes, let's go, hurry up now. And I'm like, no, I'm not part of the family, and I, as soon as the gate closed, I was like, what an idiot! I can't believe I just said that. And so that crushed me. If you want to know the truth, I was like crying. Meanwhile, he won a Super Bowl, and I'm crying. I'm not on the field.
Yeah.
But 4 years later, I got to go on. So it was a good ending.
Yeah. Wow. That's so funny. At least we're honest, though.
Yeah, we're honest about it.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story.
It's fun.
So what would you say to the people who think Eli doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame?
I would say they're nuts. Eli is going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I know his record stands at 117 and 117. I understand his interceptions and maybe his percentages and all that stuff that you could talk about it. And that's what makes sports so much fun, is that you guys have this awesome podcast or whatever you guys are doing, which is awesome. But then there's three other girls that are, down the hallway doing the same thing, talking about how there's no way Eli Manning is getting into the Hall of Fame. So, that's what makes fandom so awesome, is that everybody has an opinion, and it's okay to let them have one, even though they're absolutely wrong in this way. But everybody's entitled to their opinions. I believe he's going to get in. I believe all you're going to hear from the sports announcers is yes and no, and you're crazy, and you're crazy, and he's getting in. No, he's not getting in. The guy's getting in. I would take all of his numbers and throw them out the window and say the great escape in 42, the greatest pass in Super Bowl history to Manningham in 46, and that alone is enough to put Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You talked a little bit earlier about how you played sports when you were a kid. So what was your dream job growing up? Did you want to play professional sports?
Who doesn't?
True.
Everybody out there either wants to be, Don Mattingly or Derek Jeter, and everybody's in the some field throwing a ball up and hitting it, and walking off game 7. Everybody does that. And in football, which was my favorite sport, I always wanted to, I always aspired to go past college, but even in college I was too small and got my butt whooped, so I knew that wasn't happening. Baseball, I was pretty good, and I had my share of tryouts and never made it. So those who can't do, teach. So I went to become a phys ed teacher and athletic director, and I never looked back.
And we talked about who your favorite player was on the Giants, but who would be your favorite player that's not on the Giants?
Yeah, your mic is, I can't hear you, Isabella. Nope, I don't hear you on that. You know what? People ask me all the time, like, who's your second favorite team, or, who's your favorite player on another team? And like, look, I could sit here and I could tell you, like a Cam Newton or a McCaffrey, or, like some big star on another team in a snap. But me, I'm going to say Odell. Yeah. I'm going to say, I'm going to say someone that played for the Giants that I know. That brings me to something that I can't stand. I don't know if you girls play it, but, I don't do fantasy. I don't do it because, I sit with a guy. I sit with one of my best friends at games. Danny, he wears the helmet. Maybe you've seen him in a couple of pictures and stuff. And Danny plays fantasy. So there are some times in the fourth quarter where he would be like, oh, my God, all Dak Prescott has to do is score, throw a touchdown pass. What? Yeah. Like, what did you just say to me? So I can't do stuff like that because I can't root for somebody else. It's not in my bones. I'd be terrible at fantasy because I'd have all Giants and that's it. I never win, and I waste my money. So I'm never playing that. So it would be an ex-Giant, Isabella. That's it. Period. Odell.
I love the dedication.
Of course. So obviously there are probably a lot to choose from. But what would you say is the worst Giants game you've ever been to?
Oh, another good question. Man, I got a lot of them for you, Matt, unfortunately. But I will give you, I'll give you 50. No, I'm just kidding. So look, I haven't missed a Giants game. This would have been my 20th year home and away. So think of the worst games you could possibly imagine in all the years you've been on Earth. And that would be, I was just, God, how old was I? 6? I remember the fumble, the fumble at Giant Stadium where Herman Edwards picked it up, Joe Pisarcik fumble, the Miracle in the Meadowlands. I remember, I didn't understand football, but I remember everybody, cheering and this and that with a couple seconds left on the clock, and then the Giants tried to hand the ball off, and then they fumbled. And I just remember the crowd going silent and heading to the exits. So like I remember that far back. Or Flipper Anderson, Ram game. You guys don't know who that is. Look that up. That was an overtime pass. Flipper Anderson caught it. ran into the end zone, ran into the tunnel. We never saw him again on the Rams. We, again, had to get up and walk out. The 60-whatever-yard field goal in Carolina, the 61 in Eagles. You know, I could go on and on, but that's not a very good conversation now, is it?
Kind of a two-part question here. What is your favorite license plate, and which was the first one that you got?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm up to 93, and people send them to me from all over the world. I mean, Europe, all over the world. And, you know, people like, it's funny when I get a message on like Instagram or Twitter and they're like, can you get us a plate from Jersey that just, you know, with numbers on them? Like, I'm a license plate guy of the Giants. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? I only collect real Giant themed plates, and it happened because of my first one, Hannah. So the first one would be my favorite. It was the orange plate. It was the first one on my car. I knew when I was 10, 11 years old, when I got to drive it, I would have customized plates. I knew that it would be Giant themed. I couldn't get Giants. It was taken. I got G1 Ants, you know, G1 ANTS, and I never looked back. It's on my car today, and that's my favorite plate.
It's really cool.
I love that. That's cute.
And what do you think are the Giants' chances of making it to the playoffs this season?
So you're talking to a homer, and I take a lot of heat for that on social media, and I'm okay with it. And basically, Isabel, you know that is someone that just can't admit their faults and can't admit that, you know, they're in either a rebuild or can't admit that their team stinks. I'm not an idiot. None of us are here. You obviously see that the product on the field is not that great these days. And it certainly didn't help losing Saquon the other day. But, you know, football is a very, very long season, and anything can happen. And any team could lose their superstar. And once that happens, especially at QB, anything can happen. So could you imagine how bad things look right now? The Giants are 0-2. They lost Saquon. They sit at the basement of their division, let alone the league. They're horrible. They stink. They're gross. And all of a sudden, if they win this week, they're one game out. Yeah. So you literally have to just be patient. And unfortunately, your generation doesn't know that word. You'll have to learn that from your folks. You want, what have you done for me lately? And we want to win right now. We paid money for us to win right now. That's not how it works in football. I'm going to tell you, Hannah, that I'm still very hopeful. It doesn't look great, but you're damn right they're going to playoffs this year.
Yeah, I actually, don't count them out because the NFC East sucks. And
yeah, they're terrible. You're right. They're terrible.
Yep. And,
can't sleep on them.
Yeah.
Don't just know that when a team gets hot, anything can happen. That's it. That's how I answer everybody. Oh, your team stinks. If they get hot, though, what's their response? Your team stinks again? Okay.
Yep. Like with the Yankees.
That's right. I mean, a couple weeks ago, the Yankees, it looked like they weren't even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they rattle off 10 straight. So it really is that. And could you imagine, I always say this in football especially, it's when you get hot. You know, I don't care if you rattle off 6 straight wins in football in the beginning. What if you lose the next 6?
Yeah.
So it's really when you get hot and when you get healthy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm still, you know me, I'm like, let's go. We're going to playoffs.
And if Jimmy Garoppolo is not playing next week, then hopefully.
You never know. Half their team's not playing, man.
Yeah. Nick Bosa. Oh my God. So, crazy story. What is your craziest story about? No. Okay. I don't know how to phrase it.
Go ahead. About how? About what?
About an away game you've been to.
Crazy story about an away game. All right. I can't believe this one just came to mind. I have a few, but I'll give you this little one. So, the Giants are playing at Indianapolis, and Brandon Jacobs is not having a great game. He's getting very frustrated, and I'm talking with this guy next to me. He wants to know about the plates, and he's like, "Oh, Brandon Jacobs, he's so good. He's such a nice guy. He's such a I read about him, and he's such a respectful man, even though he plays angry." And about 30 seconds later, Brandon Jacobs comes out of the game and tries to toss his helmet into the bench. Instead, he throws it into the crowd. And it lands literally 2 rows behind me. And this guy who just got done saying, he's like, "He's such an a-hole." And I'm like, "You just got done saying he was such a great." So anyway, I actually retrieved the helmet. There's a picture of it somewhere, and we got it back to Brandon. He was fined by the NFL. It was so ugly, but I felt bad for him because he didn't just throw his helmet into the stands. He literally got caught in his glove, and he was like, and then it just took off. But that's just one of many. The away games are really cool, Matt. I could tell you a billion stories about Philadelphia, which you ladies are not allowed to go to yet. For an away game, Giant game, no way. But the away games are kind of fun because you also get to meet up with hundreds and thousands of Giant fans that made that trip, and Giant fans run deep, and it's really cool to get new friends on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, especially with any sport, even, like, when you go to an away game, you find other people that have the same love for the team as you and would make the distance, and I think that's something really special, especially amongst New York sports teams.
Yeah, you know what, Hannah, if you decide, not you personally, but if you decide to go to a game, an away game, and you're like, "Oh, man, I don't want to go. Isabella can't make it. Matt can't make it. I don't want to go alone." Go alone. You meet those Giant fans. You can put out a social media post these days and be like, "Yo, where's the tailgate at?" And people do answer that. And like, I started that in I didn't start it. I started going to one of my favorite stadiums is AT&T. It's Cowboy Stadium, which I think is probably one of the nicest stadiums in the league. And there's a tailgate I go to at AT&T that has 3,000 people that attend it. So, and it's Giant fans. So yeah, you know what? You don't need someone to go with. You go, you meet people, you have a good time. Hopefully the Giants win, and then you go back home.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great mindset to have. I mean, the 3 of us met through sports, and I've met, tons of other friends through sports. I think that's like such an unbreakable bond when you share the same passion about something.
I mean, look what you guys started right here. Sports brought you this. So the Giants brought you this. And you might not talk old Giants football all the time, but you will talk sports, and that's what brought you guys together. And that's what it's about.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on the Yankees? Are they winning the World Series this year?
Let me tell you something. So I am a big Yankee fan. Definitely not like the Giants, but come on, man. They have way too much power at the bat. If pitching comes around, you can't rely on just Cole, but I like their other pitchers. I would be really scared if I was playing against the Yankees. So, the odds are that they're definitely winning, what is it? They're 27th or 28th this year.
28.
That's 28.
No doubt.
Obviously, you're a Giants super fan and a Yankee fan. Do you like to watch any other sports and have any other favorite teams?
Yeah, I'm actually, man. It's been tough, man. I'm a Knicks fan.
Me too. I get it. It's painful.
I'm a Rangers fan.
Yep, that's
I'm a Giants fan. I mean, what's going on here? So yeah, we suffer through. Look, I say this all the time, and what are you girls? 15, 16?
I'm 16.
I'm 17.
Okay, so 16's and 17, right? So unfortunately, you guys, what was the last 2009 Yankees?
Yeah.
So like, you guys really don't know how good it is. And that's a shame because there are places like New England, places like New England They just win and win and win. They might not even win the Super Bowl, but at least they're going for it. So you have to suffer. You have to go through the bad times before you get to the good times. So if you have a friend that's, teetering on, oh, they suck, I'm going to another team, go ahead. But don't come back, because if you're not going to starve with us, then you ain't going to eat with us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bandwagon fans.
Can't stand them.
Definitely not.
It's funny. Somebody came at me today on social media because they were like, oh, I don't know. I put up a post today that said, Giants going to beat the 49ers and we're going to right this ship. Blanket statement. And someone's like, oh, I'm tired of hearing that for 6 or 7 years. Now, look, the person that said that is 100% correct. We're all tired of it. What does that comment, what is that going to do?
Yeah.
There's no way to there's no defense against it. He's right. We're not doing so well, right? So, but why are you adding to the problem? Okay, what do you want to do from that? Do you want to argue all day that they stink? We see it. We see the product on the field. So the negativity really does get to me on social media, and I can't stand it. I'll be positive to the day I die, and if people don't like it, unfollow button.
Yep. Yeah, I love positivity. And, they look so much better than, even though they lost, they look better than last year. So that's a start.
I thought, look, I'm a little bit pissed off still of the game, and, you're supposed to let that go 24 hours later. But I'm mad because they were playing in that second half, man. But you're professional. You don't need Joe Judge or anybody else to go in that locker room and tear you a new butt at halftime. You're a professional. You're getting paid. You should have come out like that in the first half.
Yeah.
It's not always about the second half. But then again, adjustments can be made at halftime, and it looks like they were, and the Giants came out balling, and I liked what I saw. No, all the heart in the second half doesn't get you wins. We understand that, but you got to feed off of something, and I'll feed off of that.
Yeah. So hopefully they just stop coming up short and actually start winning games.
Look, we all want that. We're all on the same page with that.
Yeah. Well, those are all the questions we have for you today. Thank you so much.
That's it?
Yeah, I have.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Look, I love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for having me. I think that stay at it. Try and get as many guests as you can. If I leave you with some words of advice, it would be, don't give up if this is what you guys want to do. And you're going to get a lot of hate. You're going to get a lot of, you don't know sports.
Yep.
You're going to get a lot of stick to the kitchen.
You're
going to get
Yeah.
I know. And I just want to tell you that I get it too. Not to stick to the kitchen, but I get it a lot. And just please know that there could be 500 people that love you. There could be 5 people that hate you for the same reasons the 500 love you.
Yeah.
But the 5 are very loud. And you must take it. And when I mean take it, you don't have to yell at them. You don't have to call them out. You could either block them or move on. But it's going to happen. And I want you to stay the course, concentrate on the positive stuff, concentrate on the people that are for you. And one day this will be the biggest. I'd be like, yo, I was on them when they were nothing. I was on them when they was 16.
Yeah,
So don't give up.
So much for that. Thank
No
you.
doubt.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No doubt. I'll see you guys later. Go Giants.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We just want to thank Joe for joining us today. It was a really fun episode, and thank you all for watching.
We're now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so make sure to check that out and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on SoundCloud.
Thank you guys for all the support, and also let us know if you guys want to see us interview, because we'll do the best that we can.